more difficult over the next couple of weeks. They will play 3 games in 11 days, starting Sunday at Philadelphia. Steelers have not won in Philadelphia since 1965. Lost their last 10 trips there, including an 0-3 record under Mike Tomlin. 6 days later, they take on the Ravens in Baltimore. They have had success against Lamar and the Ravens, but our analytics give them just a 34% chance to win that game at this point. And then just 4 days later, on Christmas Day, Steelers will take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Steelers are 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes' team, including the playoffs, with each of the last 2 losses coming by 20 points. So that is what we like to call in the business a tough stretch. But the Steelers have been outperforming their expectations all year long. So let's just pick it. What is their record going to be over the next 3 games? Hawk.
I got 1-2. I think it's going to be a tough task against the Eagles, especially with no George Pickens. I think going into the Ravens, you'll have similar questions as well as a revenge game narrative from the Baltimore Ravens, who's a really good football team. I actually like them against the Chiefs because I think where the Chiefs struggle is at the offensive line, and I can see T.J. Watt wreaking havoc on that Chiefs offense.
Yeah, I agree with Hawk. I think it's the same games in the same situation. They're more likely to split with the Ravens than to sweep the Ravens, in my view. And this Eagles team matches up really well with where the weaknesses are for the Steelers. And
Where you live?
I live in D.C.
Oh, okay.
I live in D.C.
They're going to go 2-1.
Jaden Daniels.
They're going to be
Really?
2-1. 2-1. I think they beat the Ravens. I think they beat the Chiefs. I don't think they beat the Steelers this week, but I think they beat the Ravens. And I think, to everybody's point, I think they match up well with the Chiefs. And until we see, like, the Chiefs' offensive line, how healthy they can get on that edge, that's a tough matchup for that group. So it's going to be. I didn't like the loss by 20 though. That kind of. That kind of almost swayed me. I was like 20. That's not close in the NFL.
Some Kenny Pickett and Doug Hodges games.
Well, that's
there,
true.
right?
That's true.
So,
That's true.
No, I
Good
had
point.
1-2, but I actually think they're going to sweep the Ravens. Just in the division game. I just think in division rivals, they seem Lamar, for whatever reason, has issues with the Steelers.
Exactly.
So.
Neat told me the same thing. He just scared and said he got to go home.
I know.
He don't want to be home. Yeah, he don't want to be back.
He's got
It's cool.
connections there.
It's all good, man.
The Ravens and the Chiefs are teams that they could conceivably see in the playoffs. And the issue with Mike Tomlin's Steelers over the last, frankly, 8 years has been the inability to have success in the postseason. They've lost, let's take a look, they've lost their last 5 playoff games, allowing a total of 202 points over that span. Last team they beat in the playoffs was the Chiefs. It was during the 2016 season. That was pre-Mahomes. So yeah, this is the issue. When Steeler fans, unappreciative Steeler fans, are critical of their head coach, it's because of this. It's because they don't have playoff success in recent years under him. So does Mike Tomlin need to win a playoff game this year to fight that off?
I don't think his job is on the line, but I think he does need to win a playoff game. I think when you look at this Pittsburgh Steelers team, everybody has come around to feeling like this is a team that has the ability to make a push in the postseason. We had questions coming in. The old saying, you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. Well, that has not been the case. He has done an incredible job at the beginning part of this season to where he has this team playing really good football and above what their level of expectation is. Now, going into the playoffs, we have to keep that same energy. And I think when you look at the relationship and the partnership between him and Russell Wilson, it does feel like the way that you would need a good team in the playoff that can make a Super Bowl push, they have to be lockstep the way that these 2 guys are. If they took an L the first time out, it would be a huge disappointment for everyone in that organization and the expectations that have built from their way of playing throughout this season.
Yeah. I think that's the most important note is the expectations have changed.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us would have come into the season saying Mike Tomlin better win a playoff game this year. But the way they've played all season, I'd be surprised, given the fact that they'll probably be the 3 seed. They'll have to take on the 6. They have a home game. They should win that game. And then the next game will be a team that's very beatable. In the AFC, I think they have a good shot considering how well Russ has been managing the games and how incredible that defense has been. They got a good situation, be a real disappointment. I think the narrative around Mike Tomlin, those unappreciative Steelers fans, they will have something to be really upset about if they don't have a respectable run this year.
Yeah, I think our league has gotten into what have you done for me lately in a hurry. And we're talking about, you guys want to fire Sirianni after 2 years.
Time for the coaching.
I believe Tomlin has done a pretty decent job there in Pittsburgh, but he does need to win. In all honesty, they have And they are they're not just a good team, they're a great defensive football team.
Yes, yep.
And Russell Wilson in 10-yard gains and 15-yard passes, he's got the highest completion percentage in the league. So he's showing what we all worried about. Can you push the ball down the field? Yeah. He's doing it, and you see Tomlin liking it. They have to make the most of the situation.
Yeah, I've covered this team a lot in the playoffs. I've watched them in the regular season start off 11-0 and lose to the Commanders. I've seen them lose to the Browns in week 17 or 18 and then lose in the wild card round to the Browns. I've seen them go to Arrowhead and lose to the Chiefs. So this team, all the feedback I get from Steelers fans and my TikTok comments and like everywhere is literally he's a good coach, but he doesn't win when it matters. And I think until that happens, these fans, that large subset in Pittsburgh, not going to be happy with him.
You talked about level of expectation.
Yeah.
He's a coach of the year. And when you're the coach of the year going into the playoffs, it has to continue on.
Yeah, and again, to the earlier point, maybe a little bit better roster than some of those teams. The Packers are a legit threat to win the Super Bowl. Is that right or wrong?
Ooh, I'm going to say wrong. As much as I like the Packers, I want to see more from them again. They had an opportunity against Detroit. They got to win some of these big games. And when you think about what they are and who they are, and obviously the receivers I know have been banged up some, but you want to see this translate to beating the Lions and winning some of these big games, not just playing well in them.
Kimberly Martin, there was a sign over the Giants game talking about dumpster fires. Are the Giants the biggest dumpster fire in the league right now?
Wrong! And here's why.
Wow.
I'm old enough to remember when I was a Jets beat writer and the Jets still own that crown. I'm old enough to remember when planes were flying overhead over practice and fans had commissioned a billboard saying, "Fire Adam Gase." Listen, this is child's play. I've seen worse.
Jets' message to the Giants is, you think you got it bad? We started all this.
Hold my beer.
If I said the best fit for Shedeur Sanders is the Raiders, am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I would say right. I think the situation there is going to open up. Anybody who's going to be drafting at the top of the draft, the situations ain't going to be good. Right. Of those bad situations, I think having Brock Bowers and a clean slate without the heat of being in a city like New York, I think is a good start for Shedeur, and potentially being able to have him partnered up with the coach that is most suited to have success. I think that's a good situation for him.
Yeah, small town like Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
Hide away.
Shedeur and Deion Sanders' Colorado team is well represented atop Field Yates' latest mock draft, which was released this morning on ESPN.com. He has Shedeur going number 1 overall to the Giants, Travis Hunter going number 3 overall to the Patriots, sandwiched around Miami quarterback Cam Ward, who Field has going second to the Raiders. So if I'm a Giants fan and I'm looking at Field's mock draft, is this a good thing? Are the Giants a good fit for Shedeur Sanders? Kimberly.
I don't know. Again, like Nika's saying, no situation is perfect, right? I just don't know what to make of the Giants because there's so much. Are you keeping this head coach? Are you keeping this GM? There's so many questions that right now I don't know. If you're Deion Sanders, and didn't Deion already say that he told Antonio Pierce, draft my boys?
If the Giants are there first, he may not get down there. And I think you can look at the Giants, what they did with their last quarterback, and see how poorly they managed around him. Even the owner was like, we didn't give this guy a fair shake. It's really hard to look at the Giants' recent history and setting up rookie quarterbacks for success and be excited about sending a young quarterback there to survive. Daniel Jones, they never protected him, and they got him a true number 1 finally. It's like a bad situation.
I don't think you're wrong. And I know I'm going to
But I'm not right.
I'm going to give my perspective, and I'm going to get flack for this because maybe I am a little too old school. I know all organizations aren't created equal. I know all coaching staffs and offensive philosophies are not created equal. But as a guy who literally clawed his way from the back end of the league, the same with Jeff Saturday, I think there's a level of expectation when you're the number 1 player that is not unfounded to say, hey, you should turn whatever the organization is. Every team should be a fit for you if you're truly the number 1. I understand and get if you get in the right situation and Sam Darnold, after a while, when he gets to Kevin O'Connell, well, if we redo that draft, guess who doesn't go number 2 in the draft? That's all I'm saying. I think Shedeur has that kind of talent. I think he'll be successful anywhere he goes because he's so good. But at the same time, we can't keep putting the onus everywhere else with top players.
That's like a man who did not play quarterback.
Let me say this about the Giants, with the things I do like. You have a very good left tackle. I know he's been hurt this year, but Andrew Tate, they have tried to address their offensive line, and who knows? And who knows if they get it? Because I think they're going to have a clean sweep in there. New offensive line coach. They have a true one in Neighbors.
For sure.
So now you have your backside is protected. You have the guy you're going to throw it to. Again, they screwed up the running back thing, but you can go find running backs. So now we actually are putting something together that looks better suited for a quarterback if I'm him. So I don't know the situation in Vegas. I don't know what that would look like, but I do think it would be a better fit, or it would not be a bad fit in with the Giants.
They got fans flying planes over the stadium, says dumpster fire. Like, is this a situation you want your number one overall quarterback
you
to
can't
land
see
in?
the planes, but they're saying it's going to Vegas. You can't see them. It's closed.
Don't be reading the messages above the practice, man.
You are hard, man. You are hard on them.
I am, bro. I know.
So it's like it's not football. This ain't basketball. Just drop them in there and they can solve it. Like Shedeur last year without protection had a hard time in college. You think you could drop in the NFL and give him a tackle and a receiver?
Get out there, son.
Hey, you like that Vegas offensive line?
Yeah, it ain't great either.
I know not everybody is Joe Burrow. I understand not everybody is Joe Burrow, but that's how I like my number one pick. Joe Burrow, you drop him anywhere, they're going to be successful. They're going to show things. I just think that Shedeur, I do believe Shedeur is that kind of talent that no matter where he lands, he is going to be a dude and he is going to turn that franchise.
All right. In which Andrew Hawkins gives us his three best catches from Week 14. Start us off, Hawk.
All right, number one. We're going to a guy who's had trouble catching the football in recent weeks. There was a lot of things made about him on social media in the offseason. Quentin Johnston, who makes a huge catch over the middle and takes a pancake to the face. He receives it and hangs on to the football. So I got to show my man QJ some love. Degree of difficulty, I would give a 6.8.
Yeah.
Take that in an NFL game and hang on.
I think
that is special.
Plus 15.
Hey, it shocked him. He just cussed his
yards on that one.
Number two, I'm doing this.
Let's go.
We're going to the defensive backfield. Byron Murphy.
Let's go.
He runs the route for Cal Pitts, baits Kirk Cousins into making that throw, and makes a one-handed grab where he doesn't even bring the left hand.
Don't need it. Don't need it.
Terrible.
He didn't need it.
That's a terrible pass.
It's a great catch, though. We ain't doing worse passes. All right, last but not least, Puka Nacua, or as my cousin likes to call him, Puka Nim. He makes this over-the-head catch on the sideline, tracks it over the opposite shoulder, and still gets his feet in bounds with the DB draped all over. We see so many one-handed catches on a week-to-week basis.
So good.
As a wide receiver, this degree of difficulty is a 10 and might be the best catch of the entire NFL season.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a tough catch right there.
I am telling you.
In a game where both teams scored 40 and neither one of them turned it over. It's like the perfect offensive game.
Yeah.
Dominique hated that game.
I hated that game and I hated that catch because it seemed impossible. You can't do anything better than that. You squeeze him to the sideline, you put nowhere for the ball to go, he catches it and gets his feet in bounds. It's impossible.
Puka Nim. That was good.
What you got? You got a tactical vest on in this thing?
A little, perfect.
You got a
the neckline perfectly to show both chains.
That's well done.
Important.